Very interesting.
Jean
Peters is not only a leading journalist of the investigation of the big revelations of Correctiv about this very treacherous assembly in Potsdam, but he has also gained a perspective into the right-wing politicians, and he was there as an undercover journalist. And this investigation has led to the largest demonstrations that Germany has seen in recent history. A big round of applause for Jean.
Yes. Thanks. I'm going to start with the most important thing. We made stickers. We brought them. And of course, and what the people before me did much better. Salutations to all movements for civil rights worldwide. Also, hello, Marcus. Yeah, the media landscape is in one of its largest crises of its history, not because they are not doing a good job, but because journalists worldwide, they're going into war areas, try to find information and put it in the right slot, but because there's the two largest attacks on media landscape is first algorithmic ways, the takeover of the largest info and money sources, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, sorry, that naming. So these large corporations are the largest source of information for a lot of people, and the gatekeeper media, which might be good in some places, is being pushed away. And parallel to that, the freedom of press worldwide is being attacked. I'm Jean Peters. I'm senior reporter at Correctiv, and I led the investigation in Potsdam. The collective is a lot of people. Without the Correctiv team, without the many people who did this together with me, this wouldn't have been possible. So this media crisis, we have to do something. And I'll try in this talk to share some ideas on how to do that. And I promise a small surprise at the end. There's two words at the center of it, I think, is trustworthiness, sovereignty. We all know fake news, the alternative fact that are presumably pushing away facts. After the Trump election, we have a crisis of trust. And when we see Olaf Scholz, Robert Habeck, Kamala Harris talking about justice, most people will say we have heard this a lot of times, and somehow this gets smothered in compromise. And when Elon Musk talks about shooting a penis rocket to the moon, or Trump wanting out of NATO and going to war with Panama or Canada, believe them, they will do whatever they can to do this with all their power. And the crisis of trust also impacts us as journalists, and we have to look closer. And when someone says something or promises something, we have to see what is really behind that. Are these people able of doing this? Can they realize that when they promised justice or taxation for the rich? And if they say they go against climate change and it's not happening, how do we want to contextualize that? And not only with the Habecks and Scholzes of the world, but with right-wing extremists. If you talk about remigration, what do they mean? What is behind that veil of folk ideology? And in this time of change, this topic of sovereignty, we had a pandemic with a lot of rules, new rules that we didn't know before, and had to talk out social rules against each other, in front of each other, and used a lot of social shame. And we forget there's one group of people that has been shamed not only since the pandemic, and that's poor people. They are hiding that they are poor every day, most of them, or they can't go through the day. And in a world where social shame is the largest instrument of regulating social systems, it's obvious that this totally unfettered person that is an icon. I think that's silly, but it might lead to fascism, and this unfettered fuck off, this is getting more attractive, more than we thought. I think the trustworthiness and sovereignty are the two largest topics we have to tackle, and I'll try to show you how we as Correctiv or media can do this and what dangers there are.
So those two slides I missed, but you know that the climate crisis is getting worse and worse with every climate conference. And then in the US we have the promise of mass deportation. And I'm taking away this pop protection, which is a bit irritating. And what does this mean for journalism? I think we need journalism that is not only factually correct, but also trustworthy. And it's not about making promises and doing public relations and communicating as smoothly as possible, but it's not only about doing writing and going to parties with champagne. No. And it's not about asking people, hey, do you have a really hot story for me? No, it is about, it means doing the work. You have to talk to hackers and to ask what kind of new methods are there? Are there some new ways to process data, information, and how to dig through the mud and check, go undercover and also, infiltrate Nazi networks. And we need new methods and new forms to do investigative journalism. And when we have information that is processed through algorithms, then we have to ask ourselves, how can we talk to people? How can we obtain information so that we can figure out concrete action? If we look at the headlines at the subways and we have the Panama War or the Ukraine war, so what is the more important thing right now? No, we have to think about new forms of journalism with Correctiv, and this will create trustworthiness for journalists. I have not fully understood how to operate this, how to proceed with the slides and talk at the same time. But I think I've talked about that already. How can we achieve sovereignty? I think the one thing is that as a journalist, but which is not my job, and I hope that you will help here. We need we need to apply more pressure on big tech. So we have to ask ourselves, how can we regulate the information flow, but also how can we regulate the flow of money to the big tech corporations? We have to look at the ad revenue, and because online journalism is tightly coupled to online ad revenue, and we have to explain this to the politicians. And this is hard work. This is difficult, but I believe in the people who are here present at the conference. And what we do, what Bernhard Pörksen called the redactional society, so redaktionelle Gesellschaft. So there will not only be so the idea is that there shouldn't be just a small group of big newspaper agencies, but we need an editorial society, and then it is us as a society who becomes the editorial board, and because we do communicate and discuss information, and we have to learn ourselves how to spread information, how to distribute information, and we have a problem that local reporting is dying. You might have noticed that in one newspaper there's the exact same text as in another newspaper because there's no money and no journalists who can take care of producing local news, or at least very little local news. And we have to think about how to stop the dying of local reporting by journalists, so that the mayor of some small country, some small city cannot be corrupt. And you might know the Faktencheck, so the fact-checking website from Correctiv. And we also offer this as a free service. And there's also Correctiv Local. You might know about it, where we look at the situation in childcare institutions or in women's houses, and we are looking at organizations that say that they produce organic products, even though those products are not organic. And we are, okay.
This recipe, we are going to our local power plant, to the mayor, and ask how is it looking there, and then we bind it all together and publicize it together. We also do that on the European level. And the one thing is this educating editorial society. The other is the local improving local journalism. And with Salon 5, we are also doing, this is like Hamburg, Greifswald, and Bottrop. There's these youth redactions these youth news agencies. And I have to press a lot of buttons so everything appears, thanks to the one person in front here.
Yeah, I believe
this is what I'm describing when I say we have to tackle that. But the second point, testing new research methods. What was 1 year ago? At the October 15, 23, I was at holidays at Sicily, and I got a message. I still knew the moment. It was the image I just made before. In the message, there was a letter signed by these two, Gernot Möhring, known as a right-wing activist, radical activist, and Hans Christian Limmer, then executive CEO. We know the story. In the 10th January, it was publicized as Geheimplan gegen Deutschland, secret plan against Germany by Correctiv. I was there. Is that on? And he was like a bit weaselly. This is the chief of the Landhaus Adlon. I weaseled around there. She talked about me. How do you get in there? I'll go through that. I talked about this in depth, more in depth at Republika. You can look it up there. Do you have an idea how to get in there? To the door? As a service person, to the front. There's neo-Nazis in there. It's a closed society. To the ladder.
Okay. Tatsächlich war der Mann von Correctiv.
Indeed, the guy from Correctiv was rented in, and it was via booking.com.
Yeah.
Their website had everything closed, but you can always get in somehow. I dressed up a little. I had a beard and glasses. A little shout out to Greenpeace here. The investigative team did a lot in the fieldwork before. They had 2 cars in front of the door, and you can see very well who's coming and going. The other is a Secret Service guy who couldn't get in.
Und die gucken noch mal kurz, ob sie wirklich niemand sieht.
They are looking, nobody's seeing them, and keeps going. These were the 2 cameras before, and this close-up camera. That was me. I rented a room, room 1, went over in the morning at 9:30 when everyone arrived at the conference room, and then I was in the Kamin room. And people came from left and right. Martin Sellner, Gernot Möhring, Mario Müller, known as a right-wing thug, neo-Nazi, and so on, shaking hands. I was there in my jogging suit and asked for coffee. What I saw, there were letters, small bunch of letters. You think maybe there's names on that, so you want these letters. So I went, had my smartphone, went over there, looked at it, and walked back, and you hear really well on adrenaline, and every time someone went through a door, I could turn around and ask for coffee again. And after a while, I had all the names. After the third try, it worked. That was one of my most adrenaline moments. And then the Erik Arendt looked me in the eyes and asked, "What are you doing there?" But he didn't get it either.
Dann hat der Kollege von Greenpeace,
But the
die großartige Idee gehabt, es gab
a friend from Greenpeace had this great idea of there's this flyer of the sauna ship. It was the neighbor. You can get like a floating sauna and it's camera 4.
Das macht den Abend dann rund. Also wir hatten ein wunderschönes
So
Fotos von
that was very,
manche von Ihnen vielleicht
we had great photos.
wie viel
You could
Rede
see who talks with who,
dabei ist,
leaning in how much,
wer besonders
and
fotogen ist.
looking at people who looked especially beautiful.
Das dann so gut gemacht.
We did it so well.
Also übrigens, wer eine Ausstellung machen will,
Oh yeah, if you want an art show
gerne haben.
to make an exhibition, you can have these photos. They're all open source.
Wir haben das dann. Ja, ich versuche mich ein bisschen zu
Yeah, like try to be a bit quicker. Like there's a surprise. I promised you.
veröffentlicht und alle,
We publicized that.
wie wir das so gut hinbekommen haben.
Everyone wanted to know how we did it so well, that it was so accurate.
Der Teilnehmerin Gerrit Hui, die da eben lang ging, fand das auch ein bisschen
One who
akkurat.
walked past was a bit too accurate, so she
Bestimmt irgendwelche Audioaufnahmen gemacht.
thought there was probably some illegal stuff going on, but there was not really any suspicion from the state there.
So, und die haben gesagt,
But the people didn't say it's not true. They just said, shit, this is very, very accurate.
und ich glaube jetzt ein Jahr später ungefähr,
And I think about 1 year later, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about this because we have received a lot of calls and many media houses ask, okay, how did you actually get this material? And
könnte ein guter Zeitpunkt sein,
What-
ist es aber nicht, denn die
so-
Quellen sind bis heute zuverlässig.
the
und
problem is that, the sources are still reliable and very well protected.
bin ich, ehrlich gesagt, ist das
And
eine der Sachen, die ich
this
auch bei
is
am stolzesten bin,
one of the things that I'm most proud of
schützen unsere Quellen bis zum Get-No. Und der
because we are protecting our sources really, really well
nee, wir schützen unsere Quellen.
because we really protect our sources. Because when we have to protect them, we actually do that.
Aber da ist eine Wand, da kommt
Of course, people are curious, but no, we will not reveal our sources.
wir müssen, ich habe noch was viel zu erzählen. Also,
And I have a lot to talk about.
Entschuldigung.
Sorry.
Das ist eine Folie zum Abfotografieren.
And this is a slide that you can take a photo of.
Weitergestritten.
So there's still a lot of arguing.
Kerne
And this is one of the core elements of the investigation,
passiert. Und das ist
because there's no one who is claiming that this is not true.
AfD. Sogar einer war die
And
Vorstand,
yeah,
ein Fraktionsvorsitz aus
one person from Sachsen-Anhalt was a highly extreme right-wing activist, and they were all there, and they thought about, okay, how can we do a folkish Germania, Disneyland,
verfolgen,
and how can we fight Antifa,
Schläger,
and how can we get some
Landschaft umbauen. Aber
people who,
das als Masterplan
beat people up. And
Brief und vor Ort wird gesagt,
yes, it was really announced as a master plan,
es um das
and
Remigration nannte. Und das
he used the word re-immigration, which is a folkish cover expression.
ist. Sellner nannte in einem Video
Sellner said in a video that
sogar eine Zahl. Und das sind
so
viele Menschen raus sollen aus Deutschland.
Sellner said that 6 million people should leave Germany, and that's what he said in a video that we see here now.
Bis maximal 6 Millionen
So 5 up to 6 million people
möglicherweise für eine Remigrationspolitik in Frage kämen,
might
sich nicht assimilieren.
be relevant for re-immigration because they do not want to assimilate themselves. And that's why they should live in a different country.
Also diese Idee von nicht assimilieren,
So this idea of not assimilating you might know this from how people looked at the Jews, because people said the Jews are to blame for everything, and there was a huge anti-Semitism debate 100 years ago and even longer ago. And this distinction between the right and the wrong is a fundamental aspect of this folkish mindset. And what we have to ask ourselves, okay, what are these images, what are these tropes that are repeatedly used by the right-wing people? And the discourse strategy from the right they are trying to basically say, yeah, this subclause, this is actually not correct. They try to use distractions, distraction to make people forget about the main clause, and they also try to shoot the messenger. So distractions, first of all, or laying smoke bombs, and there are a lot of this is all about subclauses, not about the central arguments. And there were it was basically about, okay, if there's a complaint, then it is only worthwhile if there's a lot of complaints of the same type. And then shooting the messenger. So I was also attacked, and the assailant has received the Peace Prize, and this happened during the prime time in the ARD. And actually, I did not lit her car on fire. So this is really insane that these things are being said about me. And it's exhausting to deal with this. But the most exhausting is this delegitimization, as if I was not a real journalist. And then the third strategy, own it, the alternative truth. One does present oneself as a hero, a tragic hero, and here we have the chancellery, and I'm not sure if there's a connection between these things. So I have received this letter a few days ago, and we see that Gernot Möhrig wants to have the material from the investigation. And what we see is that the courts are abused to normalize the folkish ideology. The idea is to use re-immigration without it being forbidden, and the aim is to normalize this. The question is, how do we handle the AfD? And this is a political decision, and then there's the legal decision. And you can go to AfD-Verbot.jetzt to look at the details or to learn more about the details. And it's important that we fight, that we use one of the last opportunities to achieve forbidding the AfD. And we need the approval from the Secret Service that the AfD is certainly right extreme. And a few days ago, I have received the message from this lawyer and we see that the Secret Service is working very slowly. And I asked them if they have noticed that this man is traveling to Zurich and visits the Junge Tat group, which is also right-wing, and they are using symbols that are forbidden in Germany, and he's highly officially visiting them. Yes, and they answered yes, yes. We know him because he's a politician in the German Bundestag. And I ask you, who of you knows him?
Okay, eine Hand ist hochgegangen.
Okay, I see one person. Yes, so this guy is fairly unknown.
Der AfD, der aber wirklich sehr, sehr weit rechts liegt.
He is very, very right-wing oriented in NRW. And but I also wanted to ask about the guy at the top. Do you know this guy? Do you want to come to the on stage? That is Tobias Ginsburg. Tobias Ginsburg is known for 15 years because he has a lot of experience with going undercover in Nazi groups. A big round of applause. Vielen Dank. Thank you very much. Okay, I have to be very quick. I'm really happy to be here. For 15 years ago, he called me up and he talked about this very interesting meeting. And there's this meeting in Switzerland with the German member of parliament. And because, despite it being publicly announced, it's very difficult to get in. And I have decided to, infiltrate it. And I'm doing this. I'm doing investigations with extremist groups, and I made sure I have a good alias, a good representation in social media, and basically we don't have any time. And it was publicly announced, but still completely protected from the public, and I had to remove my
So there was this whole process. I had this video call with one of the guys from the Junge Tat. Like, personally, it was very hard to understand because it was Schweizerdeutsch. Thankfully, I speak fluent right-wing extremist. Jean and me, we went to a parking space next to the Zurich Flughafen, and Jean followed me with some distance, and you get searched once more. You have to get into that car to get driven there. That's Lars Brendlin. He's an active member of Junge Tat, and he was a candidate for the AfD Lörrach in Baden-Württemberg, with connections to the neo-Nazi network Blood and Honor. Oh yeah, one of them is not from Blood and Honor, just to make it legally secure. Being sure, if you don't know what that is, it's exactly what you think it is. It's icky, but Junge Tat is horrible enough. You see the mask they meet. They come from the classical neo-Nazi scene. They read talks by Adolf Hitler. They had weapons at home. One of them got incarcerated some time ago because they have a Kalashnikov. And moderated by this guy, this is Tim Stauffer, Junge Alternative Baden-Württemberg. That's the youth organization of AfD. And he also belongs there, kinda. And these people, the talks they're having in this local restaurant is exactly what you think. There are young people around me, hard Hitler hair. Some have a Thor-Steiner shirt. There's a Walnutknoten, openly fascist neo-Nazis, and the talks are like that. Roger Beckham is a member of the New Right. The way these are all fitting together, Blood and Hannah, Swiss, German neo-Nazis, this is what the New Right did in 10 years, redesigning fascism slickly for public consumption, makes the shit sayable again. This New Right isn't new, it's from the 60s, but you're not new fascist, you're new right. It also sounds nicer. And he walks through all of the talking points. It's about overstrangement, it's birth rates, DNA stuff, saying where people came from to deport them again. And he talks about grandfathers and great-grandfathers of this generation, and he's saying these were also just victims of Allied bomb terror and war crimes and shit. All these neo-Nazi talking points, just in a better redesign. Like having it lawful, they invited us. We asked them if they want to talk to us, and they didn't answer. And these guys from the Junge Tat just said, we're just small migration critical group. Oh, you're also fun. You're happy. They gave them tips. Sean just talked about this fake politics. You design reality like you want it, and that has consequences. And they gave more stuff. These taught these neo-Nazis how to give them money.
No, the other clip? No, we'll take this one just shortly. This is an exclusive revelation. This is a secret recording. This is a bit tricky in terms of journalistic legal stuff. And so you can ask certain representatives, which is problematic, but what they try to do is to shift the overtone window. Once you are credible, then you can represent yourself as a migration critical citizen. So yes, we cannot play down the Holocaust. That is not something we do, but it has to be possible to talk about it, how one sees one's own people and what one wants to avoid for one's own people. And when there's people like the AfD, then yeah, it's not possible to talk about these things anymore. We have to talk about the things that the people who elect politicians, what they want to hear. And that is what the head of the party is thinking about. The AfD will be tried to forbid the AfD anyway. And this happens, yeah, with beer and sniffing tobacco, and this is very problematic because of good reasons. But in such a moment when the masks are being dropped, when it's clear that this is about the creation of these networks, then we see it as necessity to publish these things. And also, I don't know who actually made these recordings. And it is since Potsdam that people have to discuss, okay, how radical can we be in public? And yeah, so we will continue. Oh, we have another one, another clip that we want to show before we leave the stage. It is necessary that when they say that this is all lies, that this is not true, when they use right-wing rhetorics, then it's very important for us that we have proofs. Now comes the part where we look at what things they've said and what is relevant for forbidding the AfD. So every MP has resources for their own employees.
Mit dem Remigrationsbegriff. Entschuldigung. Aber vielleicht doch relevant ist, dass die vor diese Blood and Honor Leute gehen.
Dass
man doch haben könnte.
But yeah, it's about money. So every MP has his own employees, and one can employ people who are doing other things in their free time. And this is, I'm appealing to you to talk to specific MPs with whatever ideas, specific ideas. I need 500, 5,000, doesn't really matter. I need money. And what am I doing with this call? And at the end, there was this additional conversation, and then we learned the following. I'm continuing in the parliament, and that means I'm not going to be that interesting for some people. This is also something that has to be considered. I'm not an MdB from April. Oh, really? I thought you were fighting for the list. Yes, but I'm only doing this for other people, in support of other people who want to be on the list. And in 3 weeks, it will be apparent that I'm not running for the list. So this is just pretending. So it's really about lying. It's about presenting a false reality. We must not allow the right-wing people to shape our perception of reality. Okay, we're done. You can use these QR codes to look at the investigations, and you can get tickets. And the third QR, And we wish you a really nice Congress. Thank you so much.